Okay, so in this video I'm talking about titles and credits at the beginning and the end of the film. I've decided to look into previous A-level media students in film noirs and kind of analyse them instead of doing a proper film noir, to try and get an idea of what they had in mind to use for theirs and see if we've used similar aspects or not. I've decided to do Lustful Injustice, which was by a group of media students last year. So this is their opening scene and titles. The first title you can see here is their production company, which is called TEA. I like the style in which the writing was written. It kind of seems a bit dishevelled and a bit kind of messy and jaggedy, but I think it works really well because it works with the idea that there could be an uneven and unkind of like a corrupted plotline and characters within the film. And I like the use of the white writing against the black background, as I think this kind of shows two different sides to the film or the characters in it, for the white representing the innocence and the purity and the black representing death and bad things. But the one thing I wasn't particularly keen on was the fact that the title of the production company, TEA, didn't really give anything to me about the film. I didn't really explain kind of film noir, and it doesn't have any reason to what it means. It's kind of hard for the audience to kind of link it back to film noir. But other than that, I like the actual font and typewriter effect they had and used. The scene begins within a voiceover, and I think this works really well as it adds a film noir style to the film and it adds a stereotypical convention of film noir. The use of the kind of character and the voice that is being spoken is quite kind of 1940s style, like businessman kind of Cockney accent, so I think this works really well. And it also helps to introduce the characters. As you can see here, he has pictures come in here, so it helps to introduce the characters. And if you just saw then, it said the name of one of the people, and I think this worked really well because the picture came up just as the name did, so it's a way of introducing him without having the character there himself. And the writing that is used, again here, you can see it's quite like a standard font. I think it's Times New Roman, but I think it works quite well because it's quite an elegant, sophisticated font which mirrors kind of lace and the cut glasses behind them and the tuxedo scene here. But then again, I think they could have probably added more to it to make it more of a film noir type style writing, but then again I think the use of the white of it works really well because it detracts from the kind of grayscale behind it and helps to stand out against all the different dull colours. The way that the writing is going from the top left to the bottom right I think works really well because it keeps the kind of audience interested, as it's not just all coming in one line and all coming out in one place. It's kind of keeping them interested to look all around the screen and not just in one. By having also the text all the same, it helps to distinguish that these are the characters of the film, and it keeps it kind of more of a neater finish and makes it look a lot better. As well, I think it helps that they're kind of flicking to and from different scenes to keep the location right, but also by coming back to the pictures, also they're still introducing characters as their names appear. This is their title of their film, Lustful Injustice, and I think it's really good as it's a different font to the writing that's been used for the character names for the beginning, and it's kind of, I like the way they've used the red against the black, and they've managed to merge and link the L from the Lustful and the I from Injustice together, because I feel that it's a good way of linking the two together and also bringing the two colours together of like blood, death from the red, and the black, which kind of like all darkness and symbolises that, but then also the Lustful could represent the passion, so it's showing the kind of bad elements and the good elements mixing together, and by having it on a white background it then suggests purity and innocence, so it's showing all different sides to the characters in the film. I like the transition they had there. It was kind of like a water effect, like a water droplet coming out, as it's a good way of introducing the film and keeping it interesting. So I think the beginning credits work really well, and I think the title itself came in really nice, how it faded in, then faded back out again using different transitions. And then the end of the film, this is where the credits come up. I think the credits worked really well as they're kind of out in a list and stuff, but I think it's much too fast. So I think he doesn't actually give the audience a chance to actually read the credits themselves and see who directed, produced, and who was credited for the film. So I think if we were to do this, I'd make sure that we had it actually a lot kind of quicker, a lot slower, rather than having it so quick and fast-fetched. But the ending that you saw here, I think, is my favourite part of the whole film, as the main character takes his hat off, and you see it here, is about to go into the camera, and which is where the end comes up, and I think it works really well. It's a transition that I recognise from the film Brick, when it's at a scene when he puts a cloth over the camera, and the camera comes into a different scene in a different location, and it's used as a duvet pulling over his face, so it's a good way of transitioning from one scene to another, but in this case from transitioning from a location to the end of the film. And I like the way that the end that is seen here is the same writing that was used at the beginning to introduce the production company, because it links the two together and shows that the kind of story's gone full circle. And I like the use of the black and white theme that's gone throughout, and how there was only a hint of red when it was in the title. But overall, I think that the elements they've used in their film worked really effectively with one another, and I hope that we can use some similar effects of our credits to have a similar effect on the audience. Dun dun